What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Court Report. It's your boy, DC, and we got a special guest today, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Nuggets, what's going on with them, and other headlines around the NBA. There's no need to push the panic button yet. Let's get into it. Hello. How's it going out there, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Court Report. Once again, it's your boy DC, and we have a special guest today from What's in a Game podcast, NBA coverage, Will Jones. How you doing, man? Thanks for being on.
I'm doing great, DC. Thanks for having me on. Been following Guerrilla Sports. I'm happy to meet you and get involved. It's a great platform, so can't wait to get people in, commenting, talking Nuggets. So yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Very excited, appreciative of you being here today. It's been great. Shout out to my boy Ron Taylor, though. He is on vacation this week, and so we miss you. I hope you're out there having fun today. You definitely deserve it. But we're going to hold it down for you, so don't worry. Don't worry. It's going to be a great show. But first, let's jump into the mine shaft and get talking about these Nuggets. So, they had a historic night the other night, scoring amazingly, most points in, I think, franchise record on the road. I think it was an NBA record on the road. And then we come back to the 3 games or 4 games in 5 days, and then you end it with an afternoon game against the Warriors where you fall apart. Are you worried? Is it time to start panicking? What's going on with our Nuggets?
Yeah, if you are a fan and you have concerns, it's definitely valid, but I agree that we don't have to be panicking yet. The more I thought about it, the better I did feel about the Warriors loss, even though you could say it was the worst loss of the season. And I understand why people feel like that. But the guys who are on the court, finally coming back from injury, aren't really playing like themselves. Like Jokić, he's got the bone bruise. Murray had a huge offensive load when Jokić wasn't playing. We all know that. So they're not quite themselves. And when they're not themselves, we're going to have this inconsistency from night to night. You can expect that. But still, it just reminds me again, Aaron Gordon, he's out. He's probably the most important injured player, and he's been the most injured this season. Just like everything he brings, vertical spacing, the connective tissue, probably the best communicator on defense too, when we think about it. And just without him, it's so hard to really assess where this team is. So it's a silver lining because other guys are looking good, and I'm sure we can talk about them more specifically. But without AG, it's just so hard to know what this team's going to be.
Yeah, no, I think you make a really good point because I think, his presence alone really kind of gets lost in the activity, the reboundings and the toughness that this team usually has and that we're used to seeing. And I think that the problem that they run into is having some of that, that just toughness, that guy that's going to be like, get your crap together. Let's get this done on the court, which he is. He's Mr. Nugget for a reason. And I think that, without AG and just without Watson, you lose some of the size that the Nuggets usually have at the wing. And we kind of saw that last week on Sunday against a guy like Benedict Mathurin, who goes for 38. And he just has that kind of that muscle, that sneak behind, and that guy you can't kind of find an answer for, even when they didn't have Steph, which was disappointing to see. But yeah, you make a great point about AG and what he kind of brings. And I don't think that we will exactly get that look of what's going to happen in the playoffs until he comes back. But you got to think about it this way, which is not what you want to hear, but 16-16 in our last 32 games. 16-16 in our last 32 games. So that is really an average team for more than half of the season. Now, don't get me wrong, we have had a lot of injuries and seen a lot of different lineups, but that's not really what you want to see going into the last 22 games of the season.
Yeah, we've been waiting to just get that moment where either they flip a switch in the regular season and start looking like a dominant regular season team. I mean, title teams always, for the most part, have a stretch where they look really dominant through most of the regular season. In our title year, that was true, and we saw it with the Thunder last year. And 16 and 16, obviously Jokić was out, and the people who were left on the court, Adelman playing bench guys who really stepped up, like Peyton Watson doing amazing in Jokic's absence, were able to hold it down. And Jamal was incredible too, taking on the number one role in the offense. And then Jokić comes back, and we're struggling to win games. It's like after the Warriors game, I said this, there's tons of excuses I can make for the Warriors game. At the same time, there's like no excuses. Like people don't really want to do it, but I could list them off. And it's kind of the same with the 16-16 stretch where we're playing harder teams now that Jokić is back, and we were playing easier East teams when he was out. So we're able to like put some games together and less pressure on those guys. And now we kind of have the pressure on us. We're playing teams like without Steph. They didn't care. Like they were just playing free. We looked like we were locking up. So yeah, it's kind of the inverse of what we usually see, where Jokić is carrying hard and we just need someone to step up. And now we need Jokić to start playing like himself again.
Yeah. I think that has been kind of a weird thing for everyone to witness as we've had him back. And everyone, I think, went, whew, okay, he's back. We're going to be fine. We're in a good spot. We have the NBA All-Star break. And after that, we'll just get right back to where we were. And that is not what's been happening. And that's not what we've been looking like. And, I have a little clip from David Adelman on kind of where they're at and what he's been seeing. So let's check in with him and see that, and we'll get back to some comments after that.
I think there's always pressure in this, but I do think it's the appropriate thing is to just learn from each day. We struggled Sunday, obviously, gave ourselves a chance to win and fell apart at the end. I was actually more disappointed with Thursday, the Clipper game. But no, it's big picture too. We're 36 and 22. Basically, we're tied for the 3 seed. And you have to look at that too. You're going to go through ups and downs throughout the season. This has been a down period for us, or maybe more inconsistent period. We played good games for 3 quarters and had 1 outlier quarter. So we're just trying to be more complete. We watched film today, cleaned some things up, and we realized what the schedule is and what's coming. But I don't want to understate pressure, but I do think it's a process to this. We're just trying to get to the end complete and whole and put ourselves in the best, position possible going into the tournament.
So I think, he makes some really good points there, right? They're still tied for 3rd. We're still doing okay, but there are clear issues that need to be figured out. I'm glad that they got in and they started watching film, and I'm glad that they are back at practice and just kind of resettling, right? I think that's like always big. That first week, you have 3 games on the road. Really hard to just kind of get all your footing back, especially with all the injuries that we have had and all the rotations that they do have to play. But saying all that to say that's still not an excuse for the late game issues that I think most of us are very glaringly seeing. I think, and we kind of talked about this earlier, I think that there also is an issue late game with us relying so much on our recency bias of Nikola Jokić and on and off the court, right? Like not only for the fans, but the players are so used to being like, all right, it's clutch time, it's crunch time, get it into Jokić at the high post and let him cook, and we'll figure it out. And some of that I think is causing us to maybe over rely, because once you get to the playoffs, the defense, as we saw last year, is going to be a lot tighter and tougher going down the stretch. So, what do you see there that we can maybe work on, and what the bench can maybe do as we move forward?
Yeah, it's tough because Adelman's walking a tightrope in regards to Jokic's minutes in terms of how long he's resting him before he's getting him back in the 4th. And we all know that beginning of the 4th without Jokić has been like a dreaded period for Nuggets fans. And if you play him too much, you might be mad because you want him to be recovering. But if you don't play him soon enough, the lead could be going away, and then we're going to be in another clutch game situation that we're losing most of the time. Or it's like, 14 and 15 or something in terms of the record clutch. And Yeah, the late game execution just hasn't really been there. And you would think chemistry wouldn't be the issue because the guys have been together a while, but Cam Johnson is still new. And there was a late possession on the Warriors where before they were running a high screen and roll, Jokić is telling Cam to go into the other corner because he wants the empty side. And then that's time for Cam to run over there. And with Cam and Bruce and CB, depending on who you're playing with, Jokić and Murray, spacing can be a little bit better in terms of where they're positioned, getting into the actions quicker, and not being so predictable. Like you said, like we're relying on Jokić. You get that for sure. But if you're too predictable and you're forcing the ball to him, teams are going to expect it. You could get turnovers. You're going to get late doubles on Jokić. Could get in low shot clock situations. So just want to be smarter, a little more crisp. And so hopefully, like with practice, like Adam is saying, and watching film, they are like getting that together.
Yeah, no, and I think, there's a lot of fans I think don't really understand how important that practice is, because you do get to a stretch of the season where you're just out on the road or you're coming home, you have a day, and then you have a game the next day. And so you don't get those just practice reps of, oh, let's run this call. Let's get the ball into this corner, run a back cut or, splash action to get someone open. What are we going to do out of bounds when it's under 10 seconds and we got to get a shot up, right? Like those situational things you don't get to practice when you're just on the road and you're playing so much. And with an 82 game schedule, you are busy. And so I do think it is very valuable to get back inside the gym, get back into a solitary voice, a solitary mission, kind of just recoup and then get yourself back together. And so I think you make some really good points there, and Adelman does as well. We have a pretty big game tonight against the Celtics, who I think, are surprising pretty much everyone. What do you think needs to happen tonight to kind of get back on schedule?
I'm hoping, it is
tough. Other than a win, of course.
A win, hopefully not a clutch loss. That's just demoralizing for the fans for sure. I would love to be up and keep a lead. It was great to blow out the Blazers. I don't expect us to blow out the Celtics by 50 points, but just in intensity, a little bit more decisiveness, whether it's offensive or defensive. I don't want people second guessing or hesitating, passing up shots. I would love for coverages to be more precise in terms of if Jokić is at the level, really trying to stop the ball and not letting it leak into the paint. Same with CB. I want to see him hold up against a team like Celtics have some size and some wings that can dribble. So CB holding up one-on-one in space would be great to see. He's been looking a lot better in terms of his explosiveness, cutting off the ball. Now I just want to see the defensive intensity, because that's a lot of the issues, especially in the clutch. Defense just goes out the window, and it's hard to imagine them really putting it together in the last stretch of the season, but that's what we need to be focusing on for sure. So just keep chipping away at that defense.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think for me, I had two key swing factors that I would like to see tonight. One is a little more pace. Christian Brown, Bruce Brown, I would like, Julian Strawther, I would like to see them kind of get out, and when we have a rebound, get out and push the pace a little bit more. I think that those guys are really good when they're out in front and being able to create on the fast break. And I'd like to see that a little bit more and just keep that pace up early. Second thing was go through Jokić early. I think when he's aggressive out of the gate, we see a lot of times that the team is responding with that aggressiveness, and we're seeing them compete at a higher level very early in the game. And those are those games that, he goes for 40 or something. But I also believe that those are the games that we can get behind him and everyone kind of joins together in a collective inspired play, if you will, right? You're starting to see those hard plays. You're starting to see those offensive rebounds early, and then he can kind of get to that high post, get to that 3-point line, and create for everyone else very early. But I want to see him look for his shot early instead of kind of trying to get everyone else going first and then him coming along. And then rebounding and bench production. Those two things together need to go hand in hand for us to start to win a lot of these games down the stretch. And if we want to win at least 11 of them down the stretch, which would be half of them, I think that we can, those things really need to start to shine. I believe that Tim Hardaway is in the talk for Sixth Man of the Year with what he's done so far. I hope he doesn't fall off, because the last couple games it's not been as much production from him, and has been a couple negative plus minus games. But I want to see him get back into his flow, look for his shot in those open times. And then I know with Cam coming back, it's a little different for him, but I still think that the bench production as well as rebounding needs to be a focus for tonight for them to get a win.
I would love to see Cam playing more with the bench. I know it's tough because he's off injury too, and we are always relying on a Murray stagger. And I don't know if Adelman will go away from that ever, but even Cam with just Jonas is pretty productive and at positive minutes. And that's something that we haven't really had before and that we've been wanting. That's what Jokić, that was what his comments were about after we got eliminated last playoffs, just wanting more depth and wanting that bench to produce. And I think we have the people to do it. And like Tim, in 2 possessions, can get us the lead just from like hitting back-to-back threes. We've seen it plenty of times. And that's part of the reason why I'm still not giving up and why fans shouldn't give up, is because these guys on the margins, whether it's Tim, Jonas, Bruce, has been looking more like himself from the championship season, thankfully. Hope he keeps that up. And with P-Watt hopefully coming back and CB looking better as time goes on and he's getting more reps, those guys being good is what we've always wanted. I'm going to believe in Jokić and Murray to get to playing the best basketball when it comes down to it, when they really need to in the playoffs. They're still working through stuff right now. But the fact that those other guys are good does put us in a good spot, and we're still in the 3 seed. So just got to keep surviving, get through these games.
Yeah, I agree. There's no time to panic yet. But if we get into another week of 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, I think people are going to start being like, all right, wait a second here. Luckily, the Lakers are losing for us right now.
The Wolves.
And then you got to watch out for the Rockets too. So I think those other 3 teams would benefit from us doing bad, and those are the 3 teams we really don't want to benefit because of our detriment. So it's going to be an interesting last, this last real stretch to the playoffs. And I'm curious to see what we're going to get out of seeding. But I do have one other thing I have to say about the Nuggets before we get out of here. We kind of talked about this earlier, but if you see this stat here, you can see the season leaders in on and off the court differential, right? I'm gonna blow it up a little bit so we can get into this. Do you see the top 4 people are there right there? It's all the same person.
And it's not even close.
And it's really not close at all. I think that this is, one, a blessing to have on your team, but can sometimes be a curse because you have a guy that makes such a big difference when he's on the court versus when he's off the court. And that goes back to my thing with, are we relying too much on him to make a play in the crunch time? Are we relying too much on him to get an action started, to get the ball to him and be so influential that sometimes we're not utilizing the rest of the court and being able to just, go and get a score or run a play that doesn't have to go through him, right? And that's, that's interesting. It's great to have this, right? But is it causing some issues down the stretch?
Yeah, and Adelman is a creative offensive coach, and part of what I wanted to see in terms of how this team was evolving was being more creative and not having to just force it through a Jokić Murray pick and roll. And I get that it's clutch time. The Nuggets have always won clutch games just through Jokić and Murray pick and roll. And but we're seeing right now it's getting a little stagnant. It's getting a little easier to defend. The timing is also not great just because Jokić is coming off his first injury where he's missed significant time. And Jokić might be looking for other guys to step up in these moments because he needs to get his feet under him, literally. And but the rest of the team is a little bit passive and forcing it to him. And like you said earlier, if Jokic is aggressive early, like in the Blazers game, he tried it in the Clippers game to less success, but showed he could do it against the Blazers. That gives the other guys confidence, saying, "No, hey, Jokic is being aggressive. He's on. Like, we're gonna win this game. We're gonna play confident." And if they're being passive and it's too much on Jokic at the end, they're gonna get stagnant. They're gonna not be focused. They're gonna not be in the right spots. Actions are gonna get blown up, and that's part of the reason, why the clutch has been rough this year. It's like, when's the last time we've seen like Murray's the only healthy one and everyone else is injured, and Jokic is struggling to carry the load because he's coming off an injury and everyone else needs to step up, whereas we're used to Jokic being the only guy who can step up. So, but Jokic is trusting his guys. He's telling Julian to shoot. He's trying to get assists going and delegating despite his aggressiveness. But I agree, he needs to be aggressive scoring too.
Yeah, you make a good point, because like what happened to that Jamal, like, at the end of December and mid-January, that was like, screw it, I'm taking over. I'm going to take over. I'm going to break down my guy. He's got one of the better handles in the league. He's got one of the better step backs in the league. And the way he jump shoots, he can shoot over anyone. I kind of, at sometimes, instead of in this, I'm going to say this because this is one of my pet peeves with the Nuggets, always has been one of my pet peeves with the Nuggets. The stand around and, dribble 10 seconds off the clock and try to go get a tough shot.
Yeah.
Oh, it drives me nuts. It literally drives me nuts. And I'm like, what? Why is that the best that we can do? I don't believe it is. And so I just like say, get the ball and go, Jamal. Get it and go. If you're going to go make a play, go make a play. People are going to crash down on you, and you're going to be able to pass out of it, or you're going to have a cutter like Christian Brown, and then you have a guy like Jokic who is there to help you make that play at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I just want to see someone else kind of take the reins instead of saying, oh, we're just going to rely on Jokic and see if we can make it happen. And so at the end of the day, I think that the Nuggets will be fine. The Nuggets will get it figured out. And if they don't in about 2 weeks, then I say it's probably time to start pushing the panic button, because where are we going to end up in the seedings as we get to the playoffs? And I think that is important. Adelman said it was important even a few weeks ago that this is now the time to start thinking about that seeding. And I do think it is. Because there are some teams I think that we match up against much better in a 4-game series than other teams.
Yeah, and it's not to say everything's perfect right now. Obviously, it's a struggle. Jokic, I believe in him. He never has been in a super long stretch where he's not playing well. He came into the season a little bit out of shape and worked his way into it. And then he looked like he was putting together one of the greatest offensive seasons we've seen. Now he's doing it with an injury, trying to get in shape, which is completely different than feeling good in your body, but just needing to run up and down the court. And then, the injuries, we don't know how Aaron Gordon's going to look when he's coming back, but we'll just see what happens there. But the uncertainty makes it not the most comfortable position, but it could be way worse. We could not be in the top 3 position right now, but we're right there. So if all we have to do is believe in Jokic to play like Jokic, I feel pretty good about that at the end of the day. Because he's been like the most reliable force in the NBA for almost a decade. So I'm right there with you. And technically, he can still win the MVP. He still can, and he's still having an amazing season. If you go look overall, and you don't have the story of the injuries, he still looks like he's having an amazing season because he's having an amazing season. So I hope that we can support him in that, get these wins, and put ourselves into a good position going into the playoffs. So, but speaking of the playoffs, let's get to our hardcourt headlines and kind of go more robust around the league, talking about, and like I said, the Celtics are coming into town tonight. I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm a little bit worried, only because we have not been playing as well at home as of late. I don't know why. I wish I had a solid reasoning for you all out there. I think maybe we are a little more relaxed at home. I think maybe that might be it. But with this, the Celtics are surging. The Celtics are a surging team.
You have another MVP candidate in Jaylen Brown coming in, leading the Celtics, leading the surging team. The Eastern Conference is actually starting to look a little bit more tight, but I still think the Western Conference is better as a whole up at the top. What have you kind of been seeing around the league and getting here in the ends of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I always believe that the West is better than the East. That's been the case for a long time. But it is interesting that the West is falling off a little bit. Rockets, they lost Steven Adams. They've been dealing with losing their starting point guard, Van Fleet, before the season too, but making up for it. Their offense is falling off a cliff, so I'm liking that. They got some locker room turmoil, so I'll take any West team kind of struggling on and out the court that I can get. The Lakers and Minnesota kind of having some bad losses in the recent days has been great because the door was open a little bit to get that 3 seed for them. We talked about that for sure. So it's like, yeah, you think of the West and the slate that's in front of you with Lakers and Minnesota, Rockets, Thunder, of course, are always going to be tough if you have to play them early. But I still feel like matchup-wise, if we have our guys, it's a possible path to get through it. The Thunder are still going to be tough, very, very tough, because they're winning games without SGA, which is scary for sure.
Yeah, and they haven't been as good, but they're over 500 still without SGA. I think they're like 6-4 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that they have kinks in their armor. I think that they're definitely beatable, and I think we're seeing without SGA's scoring ability and just the way he creates for other people, they are missing something. I will say, I would probably say you'd want to, for the Nuggets, you want to get positioned somewhere to face like the Lakers, or I mean, I don't know if you want to see the Timberwolves in the first round.
Well, they're looking a little weaker.
Well, they're looking a little weaker. So I'd say like the Lakers or the Timberwolves. I don't think you want to see the Nuggets because I just don't think they match up well. Or sorry, the Rockets. I don't think the Rockets match up well. I don't think that the San Antonio matches up well, and I don't think that at least in the first round. This is obviously you get to a point where you're just going to have to play them if you make it that far. But in the first round, I don't think you want to see a few of those teams. For the Nuggets, it
is a logjam, and one team you think of as being like a Western, like contender, they're going to be out in the first round just by the nature of how this goes, and it's wild when you look at the list of teams. I think like we'll be okay against the Rockets. I feel like their offense isn't that good, which will help us because defense is our weak aspect, and I feel like we can score on them. I feel like Jokić is pretty good against Sengun as long as he's not getting a favorable whistle because he fouls a lot. And Jokić has been getting frustrated with the refs, so I'd be worried about that with them. Minnesota, Jaden McDaniels is shooting very, very well, which is kind of scary because even though he's a great defender, his offense wasn't ever something that they could really rely on, but they have been lately. So not excited about that to face them, but otherwise, I just feel like we still match up well. The Spurs, though, definitely are scary. They got shooters. They got Wemby. I would not want to play them early.
And they have that along with the shooters, they have that just young athleticism, and they play really hard on defense. And so if we ever have moments or those stretches of lackadaisicalness where we're throwing the ball away, I think we saw a lot of that against Golden State where they were just jumping passing lanes on us. We might be in a little bit of trouble if we end up against San Antonio in that first round. I think that's why it is important to get seeding or at least to stay in that third spot right now. Mm-hmm. If you can jump up, obviously that's great. But I think third going in, and really, I don't know how much less you want to get because then you're going to have to play someone you probably don't want to and don't have the best matchup with in the first round. And the way that we've been playing at home makes me a little bit worried. Just for the playoffs, because those are the games you're expected to win, right? And then when you don't know or you come in being like, well, hope we win this one, that gets a little scary, I think, as you get into the playoffs.
Another one of those weird aspects that's been flipped on its head for us is the home court advantage is not there. It's been missing for a little bit. I was really hoping we would restore that this season, but otherwise the West is a little bit more open than people think, which is a positive thing. And And the East, yeah, they have some really good teams at the top, and one of them just might have gone a little weaker though with the Cavs, huh?
Yeah, so with the Cavs, for you guys out there that don't know, James Harden being diagnosed with a broken thumb today, or is it a finger? It might be a finger, but either one, broken finger. He's going to be out for an indefinite amount of time. We don't know when he's going to be coming back, but I believe that the Cavaliers had one of the best records in the NBA, if not the best record in the NBA, since he joined the team. So that is going to shake up, I believe, the East a little bit for as long as he's gone. I still think that the Cavaliers will end up being a playoff team. I don't think they're going to drop out that far in 22 games, but that is a big kind of shakeup, because if you lose a guy like James Harden until the playoffs, and then you come back and now you have maybe Celtics at 2 behind Detroit or something like that, and now one of them has to go play Cleveland in the first round, that's really going to be able to kind of shake things up for the deep playoff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can slip a little bit in terms of like getting to the finals in the East. We've seen that before. We played the 8-seeded Heat, as everyone remembers. Yep. So you could slip a little bit, and you'll still have a good chance to kind of, if you got all your guys back, get through a series. In the West, I think it's a little bit harder, but it can depend on just where you break in the bracket in terms of the matchups that you want to see. But if that injury is still lingering on James Harden, that's really going to affect how they're going to play in the playoffs. And he already has playoff narratives around it, whether you believe in that or not, or you think it's overrated the amount that he drops off in the playoffs. If he's dealing with an injury, it's going to make it harder for him. But they were like so much more complete with James Harden. Like they really had a lot of puzzle pieces to throw around at different problems. And James Harden is probably the biggest loss they could have at this point.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, obviously Spider would have been kind of crazy just as the franchise leader. But I think if you still have him, then you still have a chance. James Harden obviously, was a big addition. But I think if you still have Spider, you still have a chance in the East. I mean, Detroit, I don't know we'll see how Detroit plays down the stretch, but the pace that they play at and the defense that they play is been best in the league, and it's showing very much so, not only in their record, but just like the way that they've beaten good teams. I think when you watch the way that they play against good teams, you're like, dang, okay, this isn't just a fluke every now and then. Cade Cunningham is a true all-star, and just their whole team, they're big inside, they're long, and they can shoot, they can run it. They come down and they play lockdown D. They make you go away from your best player. I still think that the Detroit Pistons probably will come out of the East, but we'll see. I mean, this Celtics team is nothing to kind of shy away from, and nothing to poo-poo and just kind of push away.
Yeah, the Celtics have that experience in the detail. They're super well coached, very experienced players. Like they're really on top of it in their execution. And then Detroit has just this like physicality and that athleticism that's always there, and the defensive effort they give is always there. And if you're playing the Detroit Pistons early on in the East because you slipped, that could be an early exit for you for sure. But I am really curious to see how Cade handles like a playoff load on the offense and people loading up on him, or like if a team has like a really good wing defender that can kind of just wear him down, how's he going to hold up? Like I think he has the skills to rise to the occasion, but we just haven't really seen it yet in terms of like going through a whole playoffs. And I really want to see how he fares.
Yeah, you make a good point. Like when you're like a first time number one on the team going to the playoffs, you've been number one in the East for most of the year. You guys are playing career basketball. The pressure will come down when you are the one to stop, right? So then you're running, you're going to be running box and ones in the playoffs around him. You're going to be running, 3 down, flat across, and switch everything. And he's not going to be able to just breathe and get a look, right? He's going to have to create and trust his team, which he has. But I think you make a good point. What happens in the playoff when the lights are a little bit brighter, the defense is a little bit better, and the stakes are much, much higher for a win, right? Because it's only, first one to 4. So, and we've seen a lot of good teams go out where you think that they're supposed to win a series and they don't. And so You bring up a really good point. I think that will be interesting to watch. And just the East in general, I think the East is just, it's a wild card right now still to see where people are going to end up at the end of the year.
Yeah, it gets clowned on. Gets clowned on because it's like the Eastern Conference, a little bit weaker than the West, but it's open. Like there's so many debates on who they think is going to come out. So it's going to be really fun just to see like who's going to put it together, and it's going to have that March basketball is coming up. That feels more open and unpredictable, whereas the West's a little more like it's going to be Thunder, Nuggets, or possibly the Timberwolves, or who knows from the West. But there's a limited amount of teams that can make it. I don't know who's going to come out of the East. I'm starting not to believe in the Knicks. I think it could be right. Could be the Pistons. Could be the Celtics. I don't know. Jason Tatum's coming back, so wild card's a perfect description for that one.
Yeah, and also you don't even want to see like an Orlando team who's they're at 6 or something like that, right? Like those we're seeing like that time in the league where it's, I don't want to say changing of the guard, but you're starting to see those like teams who have finally drafted well and they're starting to put something together. They can kind of push the pace. This has been the highest paced year in the NBA's history. I think it's like averaging over 100 possessions per game, right? Like that's crazy. That's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And so the game is moving fast, and having young guys that can come and contribute, like we saw with Peyton Watson this year, which has been great on the Nuggets. It's really going to increase your win totals at the end of the year. On the flip side, though, I gotta get your opinion on the West. What's going to happen with this LeBron-Luka Lakers? Because they seemed like they were going to get it together once everyone got healthy, bringing Austin Reeves back, and now they don't seem like that's going to be happening. And then you have an older team. What does that outlook look like in the West for us? And how does that help us out?
I think it's going to help us out because I definitely am not a Lakers believer. I just didn't think they were, especially in the offseason, bringing enough people in. They didn't make any huge moves. But yeah, Luka even has questions with him in terms of his ability to really, I hate to bring this up because he got traded because of this question with his leadership and how much consistent production he can give. He's an amazing player, and that was a terrible trade. But him giving up the shot last night and throwing the grenade to LeBron at the last second was pretty wild. Him being frustrated with the refs, and the Lakers just not having a lot of defensive options. I just don't see them being able to put together a solid campaign to contend. And I think that the tension with LeBron and the Lakers front office is real, and he's probably leaning towards retirement or heading out the door somewhere else. And I know it's hard to think of him leaving LA, and maybe he is too invested in that area with his business and his family. But him going to the Cavs and having a retirement tour seems kind of likely to me.
I agree. I think the moves that were made with the Cavs too at this trade deadline opens up a pathway. The only thing is that he would have to take, a vet minimum, which would be the first time he ever did that in his league. And I don't know if he'll do that. The Lakers have came out and said that they would be willing to pay him his, rate and have him back for his last year or whatever that may be. So we'll see if that happens. But I think the writing really is on the wall for, I think, a lot of people on the team there, where they, realize that they're not going to be long-term options. I think DeAndre Ayton realizes he's not it. He's not going to be the big stopper, the big guy that they thought he was going to bring the big presence. And then, you just have a lot of other guys you have a Hachimura who seems like he's just in limbo during games. You have a lot of guys, Jackson Hayes. Sometimes he has these incredible plays where he's dunking over people, and then he can't play a lick of defense. He can't get a defensive rebound. And then obviously you have guys at the top who should be doing more. I don't know how much more you can ask for Luka most of the time because he's averaging over 30 points a game still. But you got a guy in LeBron who he's doing what he can at his age, right? I don't think he's necessarily the problem, but I think if you're on that team, you realize maybe we don't have it all, and what are we going to do? And when you get to that stage of the season, and look, you were still in 4th and 5th place, you're in it. those guys are starting to check out mentally, I think. And when you get there, it's hard to like be a team and win those tough ones, like we saw them lose last night against Orlando.
Yeah, ever since the Russ Westbrook trade, I mean, love Russ as a former Nugget, of course, but they've been too top heavy roster wise, and they've never been able to fill out that depth and get that like Caruso and KCP role player that they need around stars. They're still in that situation, in my opinion. And LeBron's just going to be older next year, so I don't even know how he's going to be. Could be much worse. Father time could really show up in a nasty way. So. And they're going to try and get in the Giannis sweepstakes. They're going to try and make a play at Peyton Watson, which is hilarious. So I don't know how much they'll be focusing on prioritizing LeBron in that situation where they got to be going after other big fish. But we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that? By the way, let's talk about that Peyton Watson thing. There's been a lot of talk about, will he take a hometown discount? What do you think?
Interesting. I wonder what he'll think of, the Ross. I mean, if he's going to commit to Denver, I think he's going to want to start, but I don't know. Who knows what his opinions are. I think there is room for him to start, like whether that's maybe we're trading Cam to make room for him. I'm not sure, but I am glad that we're in a position to see how he looks in the playoffs. And it's unfortunate he's coming off the hamstring, so he could still be like limited from that, but I'm going to hope that he's not. But there's rumors that Lakers are going to try and throw $30 million a year at him, which sounds like a ton. Like we did not want to give CB that much money. And we could match that if we want. And we've seen how good he is. I don't know how he's going to be in the playoffs if he's not like a solid contributor and playing like he was in that month where he's winning Western Conference Players of the Week. That could force us to overpay someone who potentially is not as good as that. But you could also imagine P-Watt having a huge ceiling. And it's hard to give him up. So it's tough. I hope he loves Denver and Jokic and playing with these guys and competing for championships, that he would take a little bit of a discount to make it work. We'll see how he feels.
Yeah, I think I would like to see him do that. I don't know if he will, particularly he's a young player, and this could be his first big contract. And to get the first one is really a big deal because that sets your kind of table for later on in your career and what your next contract can be, and if you can be a supermax player. So I understand that he's going to have to kind of go through that and make that decision. And turning down 30 mil to go back home is going to be a hard decision and hard way to say no, if that ends up coming to fruition. But he's got to see. I mean, we're going to have to see what's the writing on the wall here. Will he be a starter?
Yeah.
I think that he'll want to be a starter. If he is a starter, what does that starting lineup look like? Because you did just sign Cam. I think that if you can and he's willing, you re-sign Hardaway Jr. if you can. Is going to have to take a little bit less money because he's making around 10 mil right now.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to work something out. I don't want to see anyone go that's a contributor right now, because I do think that the way the team is set up is championship ready. You have the length, you have the shooting. Do we have the tenacity and defense? Not so much. I really actually would have liked to see us go and get a scrappy guard for that backup unit. Just that like on-ball defensive. I'm not saying Pat Bev, but prime Pat Bev years ago, who we don't need him to score. We just need him to come out and play defense. I wish that we would have went out and kind of got a guard like that, but we didn't. So, yeah, I'm curious to see if P-Watt would be willing to take a little bit of a cut as we get into the offseason talks. I don't know if he will, though, just because he is a young player looking for his first big contract.
It is wild. I mean, he did basically have like a very, very great month and then got injured. And I know contracts like CB getting a huge extension took years to make. Like we saw him contribute for a title even. So to think that P.O. could get this massive extension after just kind of showing a smaller sample size of him playing his best basketball, it's crazy to think about, but the market's going to kind of dictate it and there's nothing you can really do. If we don't win the championship, they're going to try to pivot in some direction. I don't see them staying exactly the same. So it could open up spots for PY in terms of what roster decisions they make. So it's definitely possible. And I think it's more likely that he is a Nugget because we can match than not, but we'll see how much money people are throwing at him.
Yeah, it's always the money. You always got to follow the money. because that's the real deal. Before we get into our last segment with Tonal Talks, I do have to bring this up because it was something new. I can't wait to talk to my boy Ron next week about this. But did you see the Calvin Booth interview that just came out?
I saw one tiny snippet about him talking about being let go and his thoughts about that.
Yes, and so I wish I had the clip. Maybe I had time to bring it up before the end of the show. He essentially said he was getting retribution because he made it look too easy.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, Calvin. I don't think that's why you got let go. But as a Nuggets fan, you've been around in it for a bit. He did say, we won a championship. There was definitely alignment. There was never any physical altercations with Mike Malone in front of people, never verbal altercations in front of people, that there wasn't really that much beef, and it was kind of being perpetuated by the larger networks and kind of the front office. But that, when you come in and you win a championship so quickly as a GM, that it can make it look easy, and that's why there was some retribution. Yeah, I'll get you. What are your thoughts on that? I just thought that was,
yeah. There are some of his moves look better in retrospect, like P-Watt being better. It was like, hey, Calvin Booth was right about him. He drafted CB, obviously, but the Zeke contract is still weighing us down. You're reminded of losing multiple second-round picks to move up and get Duran, to dump Reggie Jackson. So those kinds of moves still stick in your mind. And I think the larger issue is the way that he viewed his himself in the role of getting a championship. He was coming off this was his first year with the team. Some people were still crediting Tim Connolly for that championship team. He did get KCP and Bruce, who were huge contributors to winning that title. So people were really high on Calvin. But I don't know. He got too, I guess, big on his ego and his self-importance. And that led to the friction between Malone and him wanting to have certain control over decision making and shooting coaches, and that and kind of overstepping and factioning off parts of the organization. And so I think that kind of still is in line with that narrative, whether that was perpetuated by the media or not. I mean, we can only really know what was reported on, but I think ultimately it was still the right decision with how he was kind of a little overbearing, I think, in terms of his importance with the team.
Yeah, I think everyone in those positions and just in life in general, when you get into those positions of, power and, you do have to have a bravado about you. So I'm sure that was part of it. But you never want to get too high on yourself when you're in a team environment, when it takes, a ton of people to get it done and have the players work. You might have had the vision, but it wasn't just you, right? And so, I think that's where I kind of like, Calvin, let's pump the brakes a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be a continued conversation through, I think, the next couple of weeks, just through the Nuggets Nation, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of comments. So we'll have to keep our eye on that and check out on that. But getting to the last part of our show here, obviously, well, you're new here, and so I will tell you, this is one of my favorite segments. Usually with my boy Ron, we go blind. I picked them out. He does not know about these looks. But for everyone out there that's new and tuning in today, this is our Tunnel Talk segment of the show where we go over the league fits. And I know that, just the whole tunnel fashion show thing that has kind of perpetuated through the league now is interesting for everyone. And not everyone is fashionista. I wouldn't call myself a fashionista, but I got style. I will say that. And so we just kind of pick out. I go and I pick out some looks that stand out to me. And we usually do a lot of them, but we're only going to do 3 today and get through them. And it'll be cool. So it's either an it or not it for you at the end of each look. And we'll get into the first one here. Let me make sure this is going to be cool. Here we go. So here's Cade. He's got a fashionable kind of look, kind of simple, but I do have to I liked the scarf. A good scarf can really add a lot to an outfit. This one's not super egregious or anything, but it's a clean outfit. It's a good look, and the scarf is clearly the highlight of the outfit. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing that jumps out, and the rest of it's a little bit muted so that it can jump out, which is cool. Like, don't go too heavy if you already got one heavy centerpiece, you know?
Right. Like make the star of the fit the star of the fit. So, I really like, simple, clean, made it look good. This isn't it for me.
Definitely it. He's got his sunglasses kind of give me some Matrix vibes going on. Tinier, circular.
With the tiny. Yeah. I got you there. That's funny. Yeah, you make a good point. There's a little bit of a Matrix vibe going on. And it's funny, actually, that you said something about the Matrix, because our next look really
dang.
We didn't plan that out. People. He did not know what was going on. This is JoJo, from the Oklahoma City Thunder, J. Will. Just initial thoughts. What do you got for us?
It's the Morpheus vibes. He's got the leather going on. It looks like it's more on the red side. I can't see exactly what color, whether it was black or not. But
yeah, so it's a black leather jacket. He's got a black alligator bag with some other black leather shoes. My funny thing is, look at the security guard in the back.
He's like, I should have checked more of those pockets. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
In there? What's in the bag?
I feel like I'll give it an it though. Like, I like anything that's like dressed up in a way, like Jokić showing up with the suits all the time. It's kind of in that vein, and it's I don't think anything too like offensive or anything. He looks like he's even got some slacks on, like business slacks under there. I don't know what's going on. Okay.
I will say this is probably, and we've done a lot of his looks over the year because he's usually got some crazy on. This is probably my favorite look of the season for me from him. I think that is just, it looks good. I mean, it's definitely Morpheus. It's definitely got a little bit more shine and flash than, the Matrix did, although they had some, latex type looks, if you will.
You got the oversized going on.
Yeah, but it's like the oversized. You got to have it tied to give it some shape. I like this look, though. It's an it for me. Yeah. It's my first, I think, it for me from him of the season. Just because he kept it clean and he kept it, like he's ready to do business. Is what
there you go.
And so,
it's a statement about the upcoming. It's time to get serious post All-Star break.
Yeah, no more of the
silly outfits. Serious. They're always serious.
No more of the silly outfits, though. No more of the silly ones. It's down to business. So usually we do a couple of looks from the round league, and then we have two of our Nuggets looks. So I have a Nuggets look to end for us here, and I really like this one. Tim Hardaway Jr. Just a clean, stacked. Looks like he's in Colorado. Looks like he's, we've seen this guy walking around Colorado.
Yeah, the beanie and the blue jeans, but I like the blue and the tan. And it just does remind me of Colorado. Was this where was this?
I believe they were on the road in Sacramento. I think it's in Sacramento. No, not Sacramento. Where were they just at? Portland? This is in Portland.
Oh, yeah, that is a good Portland look. Because I think, when they're walking in from the outside and you're considering like the context of the city, I'm always interested too. Like when they're in Miami or something, they show up in different clothes. This is pretty Portland. It's like hip, but like mountainy in a way.
Yeah, it's like he just took his work boots off from cutting trees and put the dress shoes on. Now he's ready to go play.
This is the modest minimum vet look, but that still means business and is cool.
Exactly, right? Exactly. It's modest. It's like this is really nice. I'm sure it's still $500-$600 outfit, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like I could anyone could put that together. So I do like this one. He's always clean. I think other than Jokić in the suits and Peyton Watson has come out with some pretty fly stuff. He might be best dressed on the team.
Yeah, for sure. He's got even the beanie is matching this bag, so he's throwing some gray in there. So his accessorizing's on point. AG's putting on like a fashion show.
Oh, sure. I forgot about that. He has been putting some stuff together. I take that back. It's probably a tie between them two. But AG has some fly suits.
It's just funny because he comes out like late during the game, and then everyone's like, "What's he wearing tonight?" And like you're distracted in the middle of the game by what AG's wearing.
Yeah, it's funny because Jokić, I feel like, was the same way. He had one game I was there covering the game, and he came out with this like the sweater with the sports coat and the slacks, and I was like, "Oh, Professor Jokić here to give us a lesson." But it was a clean look, and everyone there was a couple people that were like, "Whoa, look at that." So you're right. Jokić and AG have been holding it down, even in their injured time, have been looking very good. So I agree with that. I can agree with that.
Natalia, his wife, his stylist, she's always creative.
She's on point.
Yeah.
She's on point. She knows her colors. She knows her colors really well. That's for sure.
Definitely.
But all right. This is getting down to the end of the show here. It has been great having you, Will. And appreciate everyone that tuned in out there. You can go watch this episode directly after this, either wherever you find it, X, Facebook, and YouTube for sure. Go watch it on YouTube. Like and subscribe to the Court Report. It will be up on your podcast, platforms after the show. So go listen to them in your car, spread them out to your friends and family. Will, thanks again for joining us today. And really look forward to having you on again sometime this year.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me. Thanks to everyone who came in to watch. Can't wait to connect with new viewers from Guerrilla Sports. Make sure to like and subscribe. This has been awesome.
Sure. Tell them where they can find you, by the way.
Go to our YouTube channel, What's in a Game NBA. Find me on Twitter, Will_D_Jones. Come talk. I usually talk with all kinds of Nuggets fans on Twitter during games. Would love that. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys once again. Go out there and have a good rest of your week. Check in for Gianna Girardi covering the Nuggets tonight against the Celtics. Don't miss it. And we will see you guys next week.